getting into the corner, into the field and not so sweet. So there's a lot of adrenaline times. There was stuff we did as brothers on the farm that were unique to us. And it was our thing, and it was really cool. Mother did teach me a little bit of needlework and some hard cooking and crafty stuff. So that was nice. For the most part, it was family farm was a simple way of life, and you took pleasure in the simple thing. It was different, but it was a lot of fun. I turned 6 in 1969, and it may have been that the news was covering Stonewall, that I knew that I saw something there that I identified with. I think I knew to hide myself even at 6 years old. I knew I was different, and this wasn't normal. Girls looked a certain way, and boys looked a certain way. But prior to that, I didn't even realize there were girls and boys. I think at 6 years old, with school and stuff, you became more aware. I soon started taking my older sister's hand-me-down dresses. I remember going out of my way to take this yellow dress out of the hand-me-down closet, and that was my first dress. But I knew enough to hide it. Like, it was not something that I asked my mom. I literally stole the dress and would only put it on if nobody was home. And your adrenaline was pumping, like you would be very nervous that if somebody came back, they have to change. Like my dad would found out it would not be good. I started going through puberty and I realized that I was different than all the other boys. Then I started to wonder, am I gay? Am I attracted to the boys? Is that like it? And so you start to explore things in your mind. Where do you fit in? And I knew what gay was. I knew what lesbian was. I didn't know what trans was. There was the odd thing in the news every once in a while that you would hear, and then you would take that and digest it and see how it applies to yourself. Going to school was interesting. Back in those days, there was still a lineup for the girls, a lineup for the boys, and quite often the girls had their play area and the boys played in a different area. And I know myself and my best friend, and even another friend that we had, would quite often play in the wrong area. High school, again, you do everything to be cool. You try to do whatever your friends are doing, and you do it for all the wrong reasons, but you want to just blend in and not draw attention to yourself. And it seemed to work. The friends that I had were sort of in the middle, somewhere off the radar, and by the end of the 60s into the 70s, a lot of girls accepted the boys. Quite often, you could hide things you were doing a little, right? But at that point, would have wear girls' underwear, right? And I would just make sure that it wasn't showing. Towards the end of high school, I started dating a girl that went on to become my wife. And at one point, she saw me going through a Sears catalog and saw that I was looking at bras and underwear. So she questioned me about it, and when I explained it to her, the next day she came and she had bought me a skirt and a blouse and a camisole. And at that point, I fell in love. Once I had a girlfriend that knew I was transgendered or cross-dresser in those days and accepted me, it was easier to do things. She would obviously do the shopping for me. She would cover for me if anything, even if I slipped up and somebody saw something, she could say, oh, I was just messing around with nail polish, make excuses why I did the way I did. And it made it easier. And plus having a girlfriend, I didn't have to question whether I was gay or straight anymore. It's kind of town where you didn't quite honestly, the repercussions, even where I went to high school, we went to the closest city to go to high school. Back in the 70s, you didn't come out as gay or lesbian, let alone trans. And even prior to me leaving a year ago, one of our friends killed himself rather than come out that he was gay. The discrimination is so bad that my siblings fear for the way that they'll be treated if people find out that I'm transgender. So there were times where I would change my look just to try to blend in better.